Throughout human history, no question has haunted and excited the imagination more than the question of death and what happens after we leave this earthly life. Is death simply the end of the journey of life, or is it a gateway to another world? A new journey that we cannot yet fully understand? The journey of the soul after it leaves the body remains a great mystery, a question to which we may never have a definitive answer. But it is this search, not the answer, that is truly important. 1. Death and philosophical concepts. For many people, death is a transition, a release from the physical world, where the soul will continue its journey. In philosophy and religion, death is not only an end, but also a beginning. In the East, Buddhist philosophy teaches that life is a continuous cycle of rebirth, and death is just a part of this cycle. The soul, after leaving the body, will continue its journey in a new life, depending on the karma and actions performed in the previous life. Buddhism sees life as an endless cycle of reincarnation, called samsara. According to Buddhism, human existence is not limited to a single life, but goes through many lives, each of which is influenced by karma, the result of human actions, words, and thoughts. Birth, aging, sickness, and death are inevitable stages in this cycle. When a person dies, their soul does not disappear, but is reincarnated into another form, depending on the karma they have accumulated. The ultimate goal in Buddhism is to attain nirvana, a state of liberation from the cycle of rebirth, where there is no more suffering, no more rebirth. This is considered a state of perfect enlightenment, where the soul is no longer bound by desires, anger, and ignorance. Death in Buddhism is not an end, but a transitional stage in the process of spiritual evolution. Buddhists believe that by living according to the Noble Eightfold Path, a person can accumulate good karma and move closer to nirvana, ending the cycle of painful rebirth. In Christianity, death is seen as a gateway to eternal life. According to this belief, people live one life on earth, and when they die, their souls will be judged by God. Life after death will be either eternal life in heaven or eternal punishment in hell, depending on the person's actions and beliefs while alive. The core belief of Christianity is the resurrection of Jesus, who conquered death and opened the way to eternal life for those who believe in him. The Last Judgment is the time when all the dead will be resurrected and their souls will be publicly judged. From there, they will be rewarded with eternal life with God or damned to hell. Death in Christianity is seen not only as the end, but also as the beginning of a new life, an eternal journey with God, as long as the person has lived a life according to his will. In ancient Greek philosophy, especially Plato's, death was seen as the release of the soul from the physical body. Plato believed that the soul was immortal and existed in an ideal world before being reborn into a physical body. After death, the soul would return to this ideal world, where it could live in a pure state, unbound by matter. Plato believed that life on earth was just a shadow of true reality, and that death allowed the soul to escape the constraints of the physical world and return to the world of pure ideas. This led to the idea that death was a transition, a journey for the soul to return to its true state. However, not all Greek philosophers shared this view. Some, like Epicurus, believed that death was a complete end, with no existence after death. For Epicurus, there is nothing to fear in death, because when we die, we cease to exist to feel any suffering. Muslims, on the other hand, see death as a natural part of life and a transition to another state. Muslims believe that life on earth is merely a preparation for the Day of Judgment, Yom al-Qiyamah, when all souls will be resurrected and judged by God based on their deeds. The souls of the dead will go through an intermediate stage called Barzakh, where they await the Day of Judgment. During this time, the soul will experience comfort or suffering based on the life they have led. When the Day of Judgment comes, God will decide the fate of each person, whether they will be rewarded in paradise, Jannah, or punished in hell, or Jahannam. Death in Islam is not just an end, but the beginning of an eternal life, a life in which happiness or suffering depends entirely on the fear and submission to God. Like Christianity in general, Protestantism also believes in life after death and the final judgment of God. However, Protestant doctrine often emphasizes salvation by faith. Accordingly, only faith in Jesus can ensure salvation and eternal life. Protestantism also believes that people will be judged by God after death. Those who believe in Jesus will be welcomed into heaven, where they will live forever in the presence of God. Conversely, those who reject the faith will be damned in hell. The afterlife in Protestantism depends not only on actions, but also on a personal relationship with God. This creates a deep sense of personal responsibility, where each individual must secure his or her faith in order to attain salvation and eternal life. 2. Near-death experiences and soul journeys. One of the most powerful pieces of evidence for the existence of life after death is the near-death experience, NDE. People who have experienced moments close to death often describe the feeling of leaving their bodies, seeing the world from a different perspective, and even having encounters with supernatural entities or deceased loved ones. Many report feeling an absolute peace, as if they had entered another world, a world of light and love. They describe these experiences as a journey where their souls are led through a dark tunnel to a place filled with bright light. There they meet loved ones who have passed away or are greeted by divine beings. Others experience something completely different. They describe a dark, disturbing, and frightening world where they are led to terrifying scenes. These experiences are often referred to as negative near-death experiences, and they often leave a lasting impression, causing the person to rethink their life and actions. 3. Folktales and legends. Throughout human history, folktales and myths about death and the soul have played an important role in shaping our ideas about the afterlife. These stories reflect not only religious beliefs, but also human anxieties, hopes, and desires to find comfort and meaning in life after death. In many cultures, the souls of the dead are believed to continue to exist in another world and are capable of interacting with the living. Stories about ghosts, unsettled souls, are often told with reverence and fear. In East Asian culture, it is believed that the souls of the dead need to be prayed for so that they can move on to a better world. Otherwise, they will become homeless ghosts, wandering the world, causing harm to the living. In Japan, it is believed that ghosts can return to demand justice or to complete unfinished tasks. Meanwhile, in Mexico, the Dia de los Muertos festival is an occasion to remember and honor the deceased, with the belief that their souls will return to visit their families on this day. These stories and traditions are not just oral legends, but also an important part of the culture and beliefs of the communities. Folk tales are not just products of the imagination, but also expressions of deep values and beliefs about life and death. They create a connection between the living and the dead, and are also a reminder of the fragility of life and the eternity of the soul. 4th, questions and theories. So what really happens after we die? This question has been around for thousands of years and remains one of humanity's greatest mysteries. Philosophies, religions, and folklore have offered various theories about the journey of the soul, but the truth is that no one can say for sure what happens after death. Some theories suggest that the soul may pass through different realms depending on its actions and karma during its lifetime. The soul may be reincarnated, continuing its journey in a new life, or it may reach a state of enlightenment, where existence transcends the limits of space and time. These theories are not just abstract ideas, but are the foundation of religious and spiritual beliefs that have endured for centuries. These questions are not only philosophical, but also present challenges to modern science. Can science find concrete evidence of the existence of the soul and life after death? Or do we have to accept that there are things beyond human understanding, mysteries that can only be solved by faith and personal experience? One of the biggest questions in Buddhist philosophy is, what really happens to the soul after death? According to Buddhism, the soul does not disappear, but continues the cycle of rebirth in a new form of life, depending on the karma that the person has accumulated in the previous life. There are several theories about how karma affects rebirth. Some Buddhist monks and scholars believe that the soul can be reborn immediately after death, while others believe that there is a transition period in which the soul goes through several different states before being reborn. Commonly asked questions include, Can the soul change its state during the transition period? Or is there any way to ensure a better rebirth? Buddhists often engage in meditation practices and good deeds to reduce bad karma and prepare for a better rebirth in the next life. Christianity makes a lot of reference to resurrection and the final judgment. One of the biggest questions that Christianity asks is, what will happen to the soul when Christ returns on Judgment Day? According to the Bible, when Christ returns, all the dead will be resurrected, and their souls will be judged based on the lives they have lived. The theory is that all who have believed in Jesus Christ will be resurrected in a new body, no longer affected by suffering or death. They will live forever in heaven, where there will be endless joy and happiness. Conversely, those who have rejected Jesus will be condemned to hell, where they will suffer eternal punishment. How will the judgment take place? And how to prepare for resurrection and eternal life? Christian theologians have debated the nature of heaven and hell, whether they are physical places or states of mind. Although the Bible describes heaven with concrete images, such as golden streets and gates of pearls, many theologians emphasize that these images are merely symbolic, representing the beauty and perfection of heaven. The true nature of heaven, from a theological perspective, is beyond human understanding and can only be experienced when the soul returns to God. In contrast to heaven, hell in Christianity is described as a place of eternal punishment for those who reject Jesus Christ and live in sin. The Bible describes hell with terrifying images, such as unquenchable fire and a place of weeping and gnashing of teeth. It is a place of endless pain, suffering, and despair. The nature of hell, according to theologians, is not only physical punishment, but also complete separation from God. It is a state of eternal solitude, where the soul no longer enjoys the presence of God. Hell is not a place where God violently punishes the soul, but rather a place where people choose for themselves when they reject God and choose to live apart from Him. Is hell a temporary or permanent state? In the Christian tradition, hell is usually understood to be permanent, the final result of rejecting God. However, some theologians have discussed the possibility of total annihilation. That is, the soul disappears completely after a period of punishment, rather than remaining forever in hell. This is a controversial subject, and the Orthodox view of the Church remains that hell is a place of eternal punishment. Ancient Greek philosophy, especially Plato's views, held that the soul is immortal, and after death it returns to the ideal world, where pure ideas exist. A common hypothesis is that the soul undergoes a process of purification before reaching a state of purity. This is done through contemplation and realization of the truth in life. In addition, other philosophers such as Epicurus argued that death is the complete end of existence. There is no soul and no afterlife. This has led to some controversy in Greek philosophy about the nature of the soul and whether it continues to exist after death. Theories about the existence of the soul and life after death are not just products of the imagination, but also reflect the deep human desires in searching for the meaning of life and death. Although the answers may be far away, these questions will certainly continue to stimulate human curiosity and inquiry. Death is an inevitable part of life, a fact that each of us must face. But is death really the end, or just a transition to a new journey? The journey of the soul after leaving the body remains a great mystery, a question to which we may never have a definite answer. Questions about the existence of the soul, about life after death, are not just philosophical speculations, but also deep human desires in the search for meaning and solace. Although we may never know for sure what happens after death, exploring and contemplating this topic will certainly enrich our understanding of life and ourselves. We hope that this article has given you a new perspective, a curiosity, and provoked deep thoughts about the journey of the soul. Please feel free to share your personal stories and experiences on this topic. Discussion and sharing are the way we continue to explore and understand the eternal mysteries of life.